Lucia. The thing with this one, we're not actually going to read it together. Just going to roughly go through the passage and go through the questions. All right, so we know that this passage is about Britta, right? And Britta wanted to go to a birthday party, but we had some things happening with, she thought she was going to miss out on, Saint Lucia, and we had a bit of a, there was a bit of a storyline going on with them. So let's have a look at the questions, because you guys should have read the passage before joining this live. So yeah, so let's have a look at question 1. So question 1, why is Britta so keen on going to Kaylee's birthday party? So with this one, let's have a look at the options. A, because she doesn't want to be in charge of the St. Lucia traditions this year. Do we think, we know this is not correct, right? She was very, she was quite excited for the St. Lucia traditions. B, because she doesn't want to give equal time to her family. Sorry, guys. She doesn't want to give equal time to her friends and family. We know that's also not correct, right? That wasn't mentioned anywhere. And C, because she doesn't want to miss out on the summer party. It wasn't, we know that she was more so upset about missing out on St. Lucia's traditions, right? And D, because she is new at her school and needs friendship. This is correct. And if I was to specify exactly where this answer was, it'll be in the second paragraph at the end. It says, but friends were important too, especially when you were the new girl in school. So that's where the answer for question 1 was. All right, question 2, let's have a look. Why doesn't Eva want Britta to miss their St. Lucia Day celebrations? Have a look at A, she cannot make coffee, which is a prominent part of the celebration. Not quite, right? It's not written there. Actually, let's go back to the passage where the answer was shown, which is in paragraph 3. If we have a look here, although it says, I don't know how to make coffee, that's not the sole reason why Ava doesn't want Britta to miss out on the celebration, right? It is because they normally share all the responsibilities together, right? Regarding the celebration. And we can read that we can have a look in that whole paragraph here. So if we are to kind of filter out the questions, B, she doesn't want to celebrate it with the entire family present. We know that's not correct. C, she and Britta share the responsibilities regarding the celebration. This is what that paragraph is showing, right? And D, she is worried how she will be able to handle everything alone. She is not old enough. So it's not, although D could be a good answer, we know that the main reason would be because they share the responsibilities, right? Which is why the answer would be C. All right, sorry, yeah, answer will be C. Moving on to question 3, Kaylee could be best described as what kind of friend? So if we have a look at Kaylee in the passage, Kaylee was the birthday girl, right? But if we see at the end of this paragraph, it says, she says things like, I'll watch from the window to make sure you get home okay. And let's see so if we have a look at this exact phrase that she says, we know that she is quite caring, right? And she is happy for Ava to, get home safe, and she's just quite cooperative, which we can see in option A. If we have a look at B, appreciative and grateful, she could be appreciative and grateful, but not quite, right? It's not less grateful and more caring. So we know A is a better answer so far. C, mean and selfish, we know that is definitely not correct. And indifferent and casual, we know indifferent means that you just don't care, right? Just don't care, which is not what Kaylee is shown to be. So we can confirm that the answer is A. And moving on to question 4, how do Ava's reactions change from when she initially sees Britta back at home to the end of the story? Let's have a look at what how she is initially seen. So we have a look at this, if we have a look at this passage, when she comes back home, she's back home here from this paragraph, right? We can see that it says Ava's face fell. And what that kind of is showing is a bit of disappointment, right? As we can see in option B, or maybe shocked also. Maybe shocked, maybe disappointed, but when someone's face falls, you can kind of think about what that means. And at the end, it says Ava smiled, which means she kind of lit up. So if we have a look at all the options, A, from excited to normal, we know that's not correct. B, from disappointed to happy. We know this would be the right answer, right? Because her face fell and then she was all of a sudden smiling. So B would be the right answer here. C, from shocked to thankful. We can't really see that that she's thankful. It's more so that she's more happy. And D, from relieved to cheerful. She could be cheerful, but not quite relieved. That's not really the emotions that we're showing. So we can confirm that the answer is B. All right. Yeah, just if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section, like we have said in the chat, and we'll go through them at the end. Alrighty, moving on to question 5. Which of the following options best fits the missing words in the following statement? While preparing for St. Lucia Day, the two sisters have a very something relationship. So let's have a look. A, is it chaotic and changing? It could be changing, but not quite, because it ended up to be, the same, right? And not quite chaotic either. So, we know A is not correct. B, hostile and argumentative. Hostile just, sorry guys. We know that they're not really being argumentative, right? Because they don't really fight. And hostile just means it's showing, feelings of opposition, right? Or dislike. We know that's not correct either, so we can rule out B. And C, fun and easygoing. We can see that these are both correct from their relationship. And D, systematic and focused. This is almost like saying it's robotic, right? We know that's not correct. And D, and focused is not quite shown either, so we can confirm that C is our answer. Cool, moving on to question 6. What event from the story makes Britta change her mind and decide to go back home on the morning of St. Lucia Day? Let's have a look at the options. A, watching her sister struggle with her responsibilities from Kaylee's window. Not quite, right? She wasn't watching her sister struggle with her responsibilities. So A is not correct. B, not being able to sleep and overthinking. Nowhere in the passage that was shown, so we know B is not correct either. C, recalling the sweet memories from previous St. Lucia Day celebrations. We know that is correct, right? If we have a look at the passage, the whole of paragraph, this paragraph, she was thinking, am I being a terrible sister? And she was thinking about, she was reminiscing about the good memories they had in previous St. Lucia celebrations. So we can confirm that question 6 is C. And lastly, question 7. What is the main theme of, what is the main theme of this short story? Let's have a look. A, new responsibilities and new responsibilities bring new emotions. Oh, that's not the main theme, right? We know this might be a lesson that they were trying to teach, but not the main theme. B, you should make plans with your friends wisely. We know that is not the theme either. C, think of others before yourself. Maybe, but not really, probably not the main theme. And D, sometimes you have to put family and traditions above others. This is what they're teaching, right? So we can confirm that 7 was D. All right, cool. All right, let's move on to the second passage. Okay, cool. Life Doesn't Frighten Me by Maya Angelou. So this was a poem, right? It was a short poem, and although we won't be having a read, we will be going through the answers together. All right, cool. So starting with question 8. Okay, so before I begin, sorry guys, let's have a quick talk about this poem. So this poem is talking about, sorry guys, 1 second. This poem is talking about things that scare the author, right, or the poet. It's talking, there's great rhyme going on here, and there's quite a bit of imagery going on about the things that could possibly frighten them. So let's go straight on to the questions and see what we've got. So question 8, the example that the speaker lists in the poem are, let's see, things that children are taught to be afraid of. Okay, so we know that they're not, the examples that the speaker lists, it's not that children are taught to be afraid of. So we know that they say fear is not taught, pretty much, right? That is what we see here. So question 8 is not A. B, things that amusing, or things that are amusing to children, that is not correct either. We're talking about, fears. C, things that children are often afraid of. This is correct, right? There are things like, they list things like, let's have a look, shadows on the wall, bad dogs barking loud, big ghosts in the cloud. So that's things that children are often afraid of, not all the time, but often. So that we know that question A to C. And D, things that they see in their imaginations. Not quite either, because they do talk about real life things, right? So we can confirm question 8 is C. All right. Question 9. Stanza 5 suggests that the speaker faces scary things by. Let's have a look at stanza 5 to see what we've got. So stanza 5. I go boo, I make them shoo. I make fun, way they run. I won't cry, so they fly. I just smile, they go wild. All right. And the speaker faces scary things by showing that they are not scared of them. Right? That's pretty much what they're saying. That's pretty much what stanza 5 is saying, right? So we can confirm question 9 is C. Question 10. What characteristics about the speaker are described in stanza 5? Stanza 5 is right here. Oops, sorry. Yeah. So the same stanza we just read. We can see that this in the stanza, the speaker is described to be quite brave, right? It's saying that the speaker goes boo, he makes them shoo. So if we have a look at the options, we can see definitely just not carefree and chill. Does seem to be quite brave and optimistic. Easily scared, we know that's not correct. Motivational and powerful, we don't quite think it's powerful, so we can confirm that B is our answer. All right, moving on to question 11. How does the repetition of the line, life doesn't frighten me at all, add meaning to the poem? So, life doesn't frighten me at all. It is continually said at the end, right? And when you say that to yourself over and over again, it's almost like you're telling yourself, right? You're like reassuring yourself that life doesn't frighten you, right? So let's see how that phrase as meaning to the poem. So A, it presents the speaker as someone who is showing off their ability to not get frightened by anything, reinforcing the idea that most people's fears are silly. We don't think that's correct, right? It's all like we talked about just then. It's almost like you're telling yourself that it's not that scary. So we know A is not correct. And B, it reassures the readers that despite what we encounter in life, we should not be afraid and challenge our fears. We know that this is what will be discussed, right? B would be our answer. C, it makes the readers question whether their fears are genuine. This wasn't to, this phrase isn't to ask, question whether fears are genuine. So we know C is not correct, sorry. And D, it describes the speaker as being experienced with facing their fears and thus teaching the reader how to do it, since it is common for everyone to have fears. Although this could be correct, we do know that the speaker is experienced with facing fears. It's not really teaching the readers. It's almost just like teaching, like reassuring the readers that, what we encounter, despite what we encounter in life, we should not be afraid and challenge our fears, right? Because yeah. So B would be our answer. All right, we're just going to move on to question 12. What is the meaning of lines 37 and 40? So let's have a read of 37 and 40. So that's those here. I've got magic charm that I keep on my sleeve. I can walk the ocean floor and never have to breathe. All right, so what is this kind of showing us? So question 12, let's have a look at all the options and filter it out. So we can kind of see that if we're kind of to go back, the poet is, saying that it's got a magic charm, right? That I keep up my sleeve, I can walk the ocean floor, never have to breathe. It's like sort of like a strategy, right, of how the author kind of keeps their fears away. So let's have a look at the options to see what kind of shows us that. So A, the speaker is wishing that they could be brave enough and imagines that being competent enough to face any fantastical scenario. We know it's not to do with fantastical scenario. We just think we're just talking about a magical power to overcome any fears. So we know A is not correct. B, the speaker does not want to share their secret techniques in overcoming fears. We know that that's not, they did share their fears, right? They did share their techniques. So B is not correct either. And C, the speaker is suggesting that boldness is easily accessible to everyone and is asking readers to be courageous in every situation. So the first part of this answer is quite good, isn't it? That boldness is easily accessible. It is a correct statement. However, that's not what lines 37 and 40 are talking about, right? And they're rather talking about the fact that the speaker's strategy, right, the magic in the sleeve, is conquering fears. Fears works like a powerful magic charm in their life, giving them the faith in themselves to do anything. Well, that's why we can confirm D is our answer. Moving on to question 13, which stanza most reveals the imaginative personality of the speaker? So that's 4, 8, 10, and 3. So we can kind of go through all the stanzas to see what's the most imaginative, right? So let's have a look at 4 first. Yeah. Dragons, breathing flame, on my counterpane doesn't frighten me at all. All right, so this is quite imaginative, right? So 4 is a good one. So let's have a look at, let's have a look at the other ones. So we know option D was 3, so let's have a look at 3 while we're here. Mean old Mother Goose, lions on the loose, they don't frighten me at all. Are these real things? Right, they are real things. There's nothing really to do with imagination. So we know that 3 is not our stanza. And let's have a look at 8. 8 is here. That new classroom where boys pull out my hair, kissy little girls with their hair in curls, they don't frighten me at all. This isn't really imaginative either, right? So we can filter this one out. And lastly, 10, only, that's 9, 10. It's only in my dreams. We know that is not really imaginative either, right? So out of all the options, we can definitely confirm that stanza 4 reveals the most imaginative personality because they mention dragons, and dragons are imaginative, right? And lastly, question 14, the poem is most likely written from the perspective of is it a brave man? No, we know that's not a brave man. A young girl? Yeah, likely, but let's have a look at the other options. A motivational speaker? Definitely not, right? And D, an adult looking back at the past? Not quite. It seems like they're really in the moment. They're talking about their own experiences, their current experiences, so we can confirm that D is our answer. Cool. Alrighty, then we'll move on to the next passage, which is a closed passage. And this is talking about plants yell when stressed out, study 4. All right, so this passage was quite interesting if you guys had a read. And with closed passages, guys, it's really important you find your own tactic and you find your own methods to complete the questions. So what I like to do, a personal tactic that I use when I'm doing closed passages is I like looking at the options first. Other people might like looking at the passage first, but I just want to have a look at what options could be possible. So we'll have a quick read and we'll kind of underline things that we think are quite important, and we'll get back to the questions. So the studies published in this journal Cell on March 30 found thirsty plants began making noises before they were visibly dehydrated. So we know they were making noises before they were visibly dehydrated. And the frequency of sounds peaked after 5 days with no water before decreasing again as the plants dried up completely. All right, so that's our first one. B, the plant sounds are about the same volume as normal human conversation. Interesting. However, the pitch is too high for people to hear. All right, C, we are currently investigating the responses of other organisms, both animals and plants to these sounds, and we are also exploring our ability to identify and interpret the sounds in complete natural environments. All right, so they're talking about, it was a quote. It's also important to note that it is a quote. D, the researchers used microphones to record healthy and stressed tomato and tobacco plants, and then trained the machine learning algorithm to differentiate between unstressed plants, thirsty plants, and cup plants. E, the type of sounds the plants emitted differ according to the cause of their stress. So they differ according to the cause of their stress. F, travelers from overseas often need to declare any plants that they are bringing into the country to ensure they are not pest species. And G, we found that many plants, so corn, wheat, grape, and cactus plants, for example, emit sounds when they are stressed, Professor Hadani said. All right, so I don't know if you guys have noticed, but just by reading the options, you can kind of have a really good idea on what the passage is going to be. So this is just a method that I like to use. Obviously, you guys don't have to follow this tactic, but you can incorporate it the next time you do a closed passage to see what works best for you. And at the end of the day, it's to do with the number of times you try different closed passages, right? So let's have a look at the passage and see what the answers could be. So the first paragraph, it says, plants yell out when under stress. New research has found an Israeli study revealed plants make a noise a bit like bubble wrap being popped when they are stressed from a lack of water or having their stems cut. We know this is the end of the first paragraph, right? And if we have a look at option B, it says plant sounds are about the same volume as normal human conversation. However, the pitch is too high for people to hear. This is a really good introductive quote, right? In practice sentence. So we know that question 15 should be B. It's also talking about the noise that they mentioned in the passage as well. Cool. Next paragraph. So the researchers believe insects and other mammals, and maybe even other plants can probably hear the call of the stress plants. Even in a quiet field, there are actually sounds that we don't hear. And those sounds carry information. The study senior author, Lilach Hadani from Tel Aviv University. There are animals that can hear these sounds, so there is a possibility that a lot of acoustic interaction is occurring. So also one thing I do want to mention, even though there is no blank, I do really need you guys to read the passage because you need all the context you need in order for you to answer the question, right? So we did want to read that. 16, blank. The team found that stressed plants emitted more sounds than unstressed plants. The stressed plants sounds resemble pops and clicks, and a single stress plant emitted about 30 to 50 of these clicks per hour at a seemingly random interval. All right. The thing the team found, right? This is our biggest hint because they are talking about, you know, something that someone has found, right? So let's have a look at the options. So A, the study published in the journal, Cell on March 30, found 30 plants begin making. This is not quite what we're looking for, right? It doesn't fit in the context, but D fits in the context because they're saying the researchers, which is, you know, the team use microphones to record healthy and stressed tomato and tobacco plants, and then train the machine learning algorithm to differentiate between unstressed plants, thirsty plants, and cut plants, which they are mentioning here, right? So unstressed plants, stressed plants, and cut plants. Stress plants. Oh, they didn't actually mention the cut plants, but they do mention the clicks that have been recorded. So we can confirm that question 16 is D. Sorry guys for the little confusion. We'll keep reading. Professor Hadley said happy plants were found to make far fewer sounds. When tomatoes are not stressed at all, they are very quiet, she said. And then another blank. Let's have a look. So she just said something, right? But let's have a look at the different options left. The study published in Journal. Sorry, let's have a look at A. The saying, thirsty plants began making noises after they were visibly hydrated, and the frequency of the sounds peaked after 5 days with no water before decreasing again as plants dried up completely. This is quite relevant to the previous sentence they were talking about, where they're saying they are quite quiet, right? So we can confirm question 17 is A. All right. So when was that? Okay, so let's keep going, guys. 18 was a blank, and then it says, although the study focused on tomato and tobacco plants because of their ease to grow in the laboratory, the research team also recorded a variety of other plant species. So they're saying, although the study focused, right? And let's have a look at the options to see what could be, but they're talking about how it was focused on tomato and tobacco plants. We have a look at option E. It says the type of sounds the plants emitted differed according to the cause of their stress. And we know in the previous paragraph, we were talking about the stress of tomato and tobacco plants, right? So that is quite relevant. So we know the option is E for question 18, and then another blank. Please have a look at what could be at the, the bottom of that particular paragraph. We see G here. We found that many plants, so corn, wheat, grape, cactus plants, for example, emit sounds when they are stressed, Professor Hadani said. You can see that kind of has a nice flow to the paragraph as well, so we can confirm question 19 is G. All right, and the last paragraph. Exactly how the plants made noises were unclear, but the researchers suggested it might be due to the formation and bursting of air bubbles in the plant's vascular system, a process called cavitation, Whether or not the plants were producing these sounds in order to communicate with other living things was also unclear. It is possible that other organisms could have evolved to hear and respond to these sounds. It's possible that other organisms, it is possible, it is possible that, oh my goodness, sorry guys, my eyes. All right, let's read that again from whether or not the plants were producing these sounds in order to communicate with other living things was also unclear. It's possible that other organisms could have evolved to hear and respond to these sounds, Professor Hadney said. For example, a moth that intends to lay eggs on a plant or an animal that intends to eat a plant could use the sounds to guide the decision. Other plants could also be listening in, benefiting from the sounds, with past research showing plants can respond to sounds and vibrations. Now we know that plants emit sounds. The next question is, who might be listening? Professor Hadley said. That was a big quotation, right? And if we have a look at the leftover answers, it says, let's see, we are currently investigating the responses of other organisms. We already know this is relevant to that question, right? Both animals and plants to these sounds. And we're also exploring our ability to identify and interpret the sounds in complete natural environments. Okay, this is a really good wrap up to that question, right? Because as we can see in the previous paragraph or in the previous sentences, there are quotations, and it's a nice wrap up to kind of say that although we had research in the laboratory settings, they wanted to do some research in the natural setting as well. All right, this was a really interesting passage to do a close passage too, but let's move on and let's go through the extracts. So we are now going to read the 4 extracts below on the theme of abseiling, but we're not going to read them all together. We're going to go through the passages one by one, and I'll give you guys a little summary on what was kind of going on, and we can answer the questions together. Cool. All right, so extract A. If we have a look at extract A, they were talking about it's a course, right? This extract was talking about the 1-day course that that a company offers to kind of teach the importance of safety procedures, how to use, familiarize yourself, and what to do kind of before you start abseiling. You guys should have read this passage. You should have read all the passages before you started. But so that was extract A. We're kind of talking about before starting abseiling. And what I might actually do for you guys, just so we don't have to read the whole passage, is I'll show you guys exactly where the answers are found in the extracts. I think that will be a bit more helpful as well. All right, extract B was a bit of a reflection, right? A reflection and talking about someone's experience with abseiling, right? Extract C was talking about, it was also an experience, but it was quite cheerful. I would say it was more so kind of like a diary entry in a way, or to promote abseiling. So maybe we'll say promote just to summarize. All right. And extract D was talking about an experience, but I might actually go through, it was also an experience, but let's go through the questions slowly, step by step, one by one, and see where they kind of came from. So question 21. Which extract mentions the importance of being patient and supportive of those who are scared during the abseiling adventure? All right, so they're talking about the importance of being patient and supportive, right? So let's see where that could be found. We know that A is talking about, this is a course before before starting to abseil, so it shouldn't be found in extract A. B was also a reflection, but it didn't really talk about the importance of being patient. It was more so their personal experience on how it was, how abseiling was. So it was not B, the answer wasn't found in B. If we have a look at C, however, we can kind of see towards the end of the paragraph, it says, don't pressure anyone to the point where they're feeling overwhelmed, right? And it's not good for anyone. Be supportive, help them. If they decide not to go, just let them know how well they did when they tried it. This is what question 21 is talking about, right? The importance of being supportive and patient. So we can confirm that question 21 is was found in extract C. Cool. Moving on to question 22. Which extract describes why abseiling is safe? So what describes? If we have a look at question 22. How it's safe. So A, was like we mentioned earlier, we're talking about the 1-day adventure abseiling course, with, not really to do with but if we kind of go back to extract C and see, especially just in the first sentence, it says abseiling, despite being perceived by some participants as one of the scariest and most dangerous activities you can do, nothing could be furthest from the truth. That's saying it is safe, right? If they're saying nothing could be further from the fact that it is a dangerous activity, the opposite of dangerous would be safe, right? That's why question 22 would be shown in extract C. Right, question 23. Which extract suggests that there are many processes to go over before starting abseiling? The processes, if you have a look, were all shown in extract A, right? They're saying the subjects introduce the course a little bit. The professional team could help you learn new skills or guide your adventure and ensure you have fun. And we can also see it says we begin the day with a safety briefing and a training session using our practical abseiling and the subjects we cover. There we go. This is a process. The fitting of the harness, the use of descending devices, familiarization with the important safety procedures and how to use the correct abseiling skills and techniques. These are all processes, right, before starting abseiling. That's why we can confirm before starting abseiling. That's why we can confirm that question 23 would be A. Question 24. All right, question 24. Which extract communicates the hardest part about what the hardest part about abseiling is? All right, so extract A is kind of really not talking about the hard section, and B is also a reflection and an experience. But if we have a look, the hardest part of 24, my bad. All right, we have a look at the extract C. If you see here, it says, but the psychological challenge to get yourself over the edge is the real task, like the hardest part, right? And that is the closest phrase I could find where extract C would be our answer, right? It is the hardest part about abseiling. It's the fact that you have to, make yourself do that task. So that would be C for this question. Question 25, which extract describes the impact of an encouraging instructor on the narrator? So we're talking about encouraging instructor. You guys remember in extract D, there was big interaction between the instructor and the narrator, right? The narrator kept saying, I got you. She repeated over and over until I believed her. This is very encouraging, right? From an instructor as well. So we can confirm that question 5 was D. All right. Question 26, which extract provides a quote to state how easy abseiling could be. Or how easy abseiling could be. You see here the quote in extract A, where they said, if you can walk, you can abseil. This is a bit of an exaggeration, right? But although it is an exaggeration, this is exaggerating how easy it is to abseil, right? That's right, that would be A for question 27. Question 28, which extract could be extracted from an abseiling book site? Sorry. No, question 27, which extract mentions some things the narrator did that helped them during the abseil? All right. So with this question, yeah, sorry guys, my bad. Yeah, what helped them during the abseiling? If we have a look at D, we know that D is the passage where the narrator was, able to abseil with a bit more confidence through the help of the instructor. And if we have a look at this part here, it says, I believed her. I decided that the only way I was going to do this was not look at the view ahead or look down. It helped a lot to just focus on the rock in front of me where my feet needed to be. As I shuffled my feet, so that is talking about things that she did for herself that helped during the abseil. Also in that passage, we can see things that her instructor did that helped the narrator abseil as well. So we can confirm that the answer would be D for question 27. Question 28, which extract could be extracted from an abseiling booking site? That would be most likely A, right? Because this is introducing a whole, an adventure course, right? And that would probably be found on a booking site. So we can say that question 28 would be A. Question 29, which extract provides the reader with an insight into how amazing it feels when abseiling. So although we can kind of see that there were a lot of emotions, so they're seeing how amazing it feels. We can see quite a bit of emotions in extract B, extract C and D, but we can, but if we want to talk specifically about how amazing it was, in extract D, the narrator is talking about how abseiling was like an out-of-body experience, something that you cannot describe in words. This is really exaggerating how amazing abseiling was, right? For the narrator. Which is why we can confirm that question 29 was D. And lastly, question 30, which extract implies that the narrator's instruction could have been more verbal in guiding them. So this is kind of this would be, probably a quote saying, with a bit of a problem that with the instructor that particular narrator had. We know that won't be extract C, right? Because they're talking all about how verbal and how amazing the instructor was. But if we have a look at extract B, it said, looking down, yeah, and the instructor didn't say much, which didn't help. Right, this is talking about how the instructor was not verbal, not very verbal. No, they didn't say much, which is why we can confirm that question 30 would be C. Cool. So that kind of wraps up our questions. Okay, so we're going to re-explain a couple questions. So we're going to go back to question 6, 14, and 18. If you guys do have any other questions other than that, please put them down in the Q&A and we'll go through them also. So if we go back to question 6, what event from the story makes Brita change her mind and decide to go back home on the morning of St. Lucia Day? Oh, okay, so I think I did see in the comments that someone said she was not able to sleep and overthink, right? But why wasn't she being able to sleep and overthink, right? Sorry, I think I did kind of mix that up saying that she didn't when in fact she did. But we do want to think about the reason why. And the reason why she wasn't able to sleep and overthink was because she was recalling, the sweet memories from her previous St. Lucia celebrations, right? She wanted to go and make those memories again, and that is the reason why she wasn't able to sleep. So our best answer would be C, because that is like the inherent reason why she decided to go back home to her sister. I hope that made a bit of sense. Hopefully. All right. So we'll go back, and next question, sorry, would be question 14. Question 14 says, the poem is most likely written from the perspective of a young girl. All right, question 14. So let's see what about question 14. Okay, so if we have a look at the passage again, so we know that it's not going to be a brave man, just because a brave man wouldn't be talking about things that frighten them, right? In particular, we're seeing, bad dogs barking around, big ghosts in a cloud. So if you guys think about it from the perspective of the narrator, you would probably be scared of these things or talking about these things. It would be the topic of a poem if you were probably most likely a young girl who has a few fears in her life, right? So we know it's not a brave girl. It is probably we know that it's not a brave man. It's probably a young girl. A motivational speaker, not quite, right? Although they could be motivational, it is more likely a young girl. And D, an adult looking back at their past, is unlikely the case also. One other thing I do want you guys to think about is the fact that it was written by an author called Maya. But that's something that you guys can't rely on to find the perspective of the narrator, because I could be writing a poem in the perspective of a 70-year-old male, using my imagination. So although we can't really rely on it, we can get a bit of a hint and think that also having a look at the vocabulary that the narrator has used, it is most likely a young girl. Cool. And lastly, question 18. All right, let's go back to question 18. Question 18 was E. It was a blank, and it says, although the study focused on tomato and tobacco plants because of their ease to grow in the laboratory, the research team also recorded a variety of other plant species. So, they are talking about the different types of plants that they use. But if we go back to option E, it does say the types of sounds the plants emitted differed according to their stress. So according to the cause of their stress. And if we see here, although the study, so they're talking about the study, which is the type of sounds that they heard, focus on tomato and tobacco plants because of the ease to grow in laboratory. The research team also recorded a variety of other plant species. Right. So they're saying, they were talking particularly about tomato and tobacco plants, but if as you kind of go back and read this sentence in front of the paragraph, you'll notice that it makes a bit more sense. So if you got this right, okay, perfect. You're just asking, that's great so far. All right, cool. So I think that wraps up all the questions.